Most people spend hours making a cover art just to end up with something mid. I made a professional cover art using this exact formula I'm going to show you guys in this video. So to get started, what you want to do is you want to set up a document. You don't want it to be too small because it will look like Minecraft, or you don't want it to be too big because that shit will literally crash. So the perfect size and the industry standard is 3000 by 3000 pixels and also 300 ppi. Now you can put the background black, that's what I personally like to use. Alright, so firstly you want to go ahead and grab your images or your image. For this video I'm going to be using only one image, and it's going to be this image of 1900 Rugrat. Now it could be one image, it could be four, all depends on the type of cover you're going for, if there's a feature, whatever. But usually there's three things I look for in pictures when I am going to make a cover. The first thing is the lighting. Is the lighting good? Is it actually usable, or is there like shadows and all that shit blending in? And then lastly is the pose. Does the pose look like it's like an industry professional cover, or does the pose, you know, strike some sort of conversation or just look interesting in general? First of all, you want to go ahead and grab your image. You want to use the Photoshop feature to actually cut him out, and you want to go ahead and scale and position him in the way you want them. In my head, I'm positioning him in a way that is really like a go-to position that anyone can use. So if you guys are following this step by step, you can literally just match the same position. Now once you have him cut out, you want to put him into a smart object. The reason for this is because you don't want all of the background to be selected whenever you go ahead and select him. Now for the background, like I said before, this is like a pretty simple, you know, basic background to go ahead and do. I went ahead and got a cityscape of New York. You can really do this with anything, and you can see by the way I was positioning it that, you know, there wasn't enough room for the sky, so I went ahead and used some AI. I know some of you guys are weird with AI, bro. Like shit like this, it doesn't really matter if you use AI or not. Like either way, that sky's getting filled in. The next thing is a nice lightning overlay. Drag it into the sky, kind of put it into a nice position to where it looks natural. I set that blend mode to linear.jad. I grabbed a mask tool. So if you guys don't know where the mask tool is, it's that little box square thing with the circle in it. You can use that to erase things without fully committing to it. You can reverse the brush. Yeah, just erase kind of that harsh edges that might be there. This part is my favorite part. This is where it gets good, right? So you want to go ahead and click near wrappers layer, and you actually want to go to filter and camera raw filter. The reason I love this is because you can just do a lot and it just makes a big difference, right? I like to tweak the texture, the dehaze, and also the clarity, just to bring out some of the, you know, textures and all the little things, little details in the image. Also like to get rid of some tones, so the yellows, some of the oranges as well. You can really mess around with it. One tip I will give you guys is if you can see in your clothes, like say right here, you know, my lighting is blue, you can erase the blue, or, you know, take the saturation of the blue in the color mixer, and that's kind of like what I'm doing, right? So I'm just getting rid of a lot of the lighting around him and trying to keep it natural. So there's a bit of yellow on his hoodie, so I got rid of that, right? So it made it white, it made it pure white. So that's kind of like the whole idea behind it. Now back to the main canvas, you want to select the background layer, you want to merge it all together, and then you want to right click, put to smart object, and then we're going to do the same thing, camera raw filter. This time, you know, because there's a lot of blue tones, a lot of things like that, we're going to keep the blue tones and get rid of all the other tones, so the reds, the oranges, the yellows, all that shit, right? And also go down to calibration, and we're gonna slide it over on the blue side, and we're gonna bring it, you know, a little bit more light blue. Now this is actually my favorite part. This is the part that does everything, bro. If you are struggling with your cover arts looking like ass, you know, all this shit, it's probably because your adjustments are trash. So the first adjustment we want to go ahead and use is a gradient map, black and white, and set that to overlay. This will act as a kind of, you know, color corrector. It'll, you know, boost the blacks and kind of just like, you know, it'll just even everything out, right? I'm gonna bring the opacity down if it's too much, but usually like 50 to 80% is pretty good. The second adjustment is the curves layer. So you can do like a S-shaped curve where you put 2 points up and you kind of just like move it around, right? So adjustment 3, you want to go ahead and use brightness and contrast, slight boost in both, not too crazy, you know, this is just kind of like a little. Now the fourth adjustment is the exposure layer. All I do for here is I just get rid of one digit, put 9 in there, and then boom, that's it. The reason I do this is to get more of a faded look, and you know, you guys don't really need this, but if you want that faded look, that's how you get it, right? These 4 adjustment layers are doing all of the work. That's what separates a trash cover art to label cover art. Now, if you guys want to say fuck these adjustments, I have a free adjustment pack. It's not as much as my paid one, but my free one has some pretty good starters that you guys can go ahead and use. So I'll leave a link down below for that if you guys want to check it out. Now, some lighting effects I did was just add some glows in. So I added a blue glow around his shoulder area, where the light usually comes through. So I like to let it like bleed through his, you know, shoulder and shit like that. So I added a blue one, and then I added a white one, put the linear dodge and bring the opacity down a little bit. Time to add some depth. You want to select your background. You want to go to filter, blur gallery, iris blur. Basically it's like an eye, you're blurring it, right? So I just kept the edges of them blurred, and then like kind of the bits inside of him, pause, just make it kind of like sharp, right? Just add some depth to it. Nothing too crazy. Then I duplicated the wrapper layer and I added a radial blur, put the spin to 10%, which is like default, I'm pretty sure. Then I set the blend mode to linear dodge, drop the opacity, mask everything out, like the whole middle of them I masked out, and then we kept the edges for that nice glow, right? Now for texture, I added a noise layer, which is basically a solid color set to gray, and then go to filter, and then noise, and then add noise. You want to put it to Gaussian, monochromatic, and about 20-ish%, right? It doesn't have to be perfect, just like ish. And then you want to put that soft light, bring the opacity down if you need to, and that's what gives it the film grain texture effect. I'm adding a laser element, put the linear dodge, use the iris blur to actually blur everything but the point of it. The font we're going to be using is Akira Expanded. I'm typing in NYC, just, you know, a random ass name. Then we're going to double click on the text layer. We're going to go into the blending options. We're going to go to gradient overlay. We're going to put on one end blue and then the other end dark blue. If you have to reverse it to where the dark blue is on the bottom and the light blue is at top, just reverse it, right? Then we're going to go to bevel and emboss, and we're going to create a chrome effect. Now I'm going to show the settings up here on screen, so make sure you guys, you know, pause the video, just copy it. If you copy it once, it'll be there forever. Then I go ahead and play with the colors. I did go with red for now, but you know, later on I do change it back to, you know, more lighter blue. Then I add a shatter overlay onto the text just to give it more of like a sick look. Add some blur onto it, and yeah, it just makes it really clean. Also put it to linear dodge add, and then for the final touches we go ahead and use a soft black brush. We paint a vignette just around, you know, the cover art, just to make it a little bit more clean, right? Just some depth. Then we add a barbed wire silhouette that I found, you know, just, I don't know, it's just a cool little element that I add into some of my cover arts. Now for the textures, I go ahead and use 2 from Texture Lab. I set it to linear dodge add, adjust the opacity, and the key is to bring them under your adjustments layer, not on top, right? A lot of people do on top. You don't want to do that. You want to merge everything together, so Control Shift and E, and then go into camera raw filter one more time and just adjust, you know, the dehaze, noise reduction, all these different things. Also you can, you know, bring out some more colors. That's what I did. I brought the colors over to the blue side in the calibration section. Go ahead and add a chromatic aberration by going to filter and then going to lens correction. Then you can mess around with the different little, you know, points and shit like that. This makes it look really clean. Like a lot of high quality cameras have this like effect, so you know, it just makes it really clean and really cool. And the last thing I add is the parental advisory. You know, just have a nice little placement there for it. Don't want it to be too big, don't want it to be too small, just like chill.